On April 8th, we hosted a Blitz chess tournament in my Discord server with the time controls 5 minutes plus 3 seconds increment. The procedure of the tournament is as follows. There are 18 players. Each player is paired against a randomly assigned opponent in a best-of-3 format. Each player plays one game as white and one game as black. If it is a tie, the players play a third game with randomized colors. It is single elimination, so if you get knocked out in the first round, you can't come back. Since I enjoy playing chess in my spare time, I decided to record my chess games as I competed in this tournament. Disclaimer, I'm an extremely average player at chess, and I am prone to making blunders, mistakes, inaccuracies, especially under time pressure, because I tend to get stressed out when time is running short. So you may see me miss tactics, or obvious moves here or there. Feel free to point out any mistakes I made or lines I missed, so I can improve on my chess skills, but also keep an open mind when I make mistakes because I am still learning. Thank you, love y'all, enjoy the video! So in the first game I played as white and we played a Queen's Gambit declined. I tend to go for the Queen's Gambit declined a lot as white just because I usually play d4 instead of e4. Just because when you play e4 you run into like all kinds of openings and I'm just not as flexible with it. At this stage of the game, my game plan was just to castle as soon as possible, get my king to safety, and then possibly move my queen and bishop into a battery where I can like attack the king. So when the knight moved here, it's basically asking my bishop a question of whether I want to trade my bishop for a knight or move the bishop all the way back to the back rank. Like after deliberation, I just decided to take the knight. Yeah, and now I have to move my knight, and I moved it back to attack the pawn. Okay, here to be honest with you, I didn't really have a plan, so I was like, I should move my queen to antagonize his bishop. Because like, it's always like scary when you have a queen really close, like closing in on your king. So I just decided to do that to see if he'll do anything interesting. He opened his pawn, so I just moved my queen, like I crouched my queen closer in. Because it's like, I know like my queen doesn't have an actual threat, but it's like intimidating, okay? So it's like the act of intimidating my opponent. And to be honest, the queen there actually did have a threat, so if I move my pawn to... I was looking at this, and if I did that, which I did, then I was threatening checkmate here in front of the king if black doesn't do anything to stop it. So it kind of like throws the ball at black's court of like, oh, I'm threatening mate in one, so what are you gonna do? I was thinking he might move the pawn, but he moved the knight to block it, which was probably the better move. So the obvious thing is to somehow try to get rid of the knight. So I was thinking that, so I was thinking maybe I move my knight so I can attack his knight? Like, I'm just thinking of possibilities. I actually had a really long think here because I was really pondering what to do. At last I decided to move my knight to attack his knight, which may not have been the best move because I actually give up my pawn here. So like I actually give up my D pawn here because the rook can take it for free and there's nothing defending it. To be honest, that may have been a bad move, but that's what I went with. I decided to win the exchange, kinda trade my bishop for a rook, and then just try to conserve this extra bishop for a rook advantage. I actually realized that this move, like moving the rook next to the king to attack the bishop, was like a mistake more, because I can't actually take the bishop with the rook, because if I do take the bishop with the rook, the queen will take my rook in the back and checkmate. So I wasn't actually even threatening to take his bishop in a sense, so I probably should have used my other rook, but it was what it was. and now I'm just moving the rook out of the way so the queen won't be able to like swoop in and take it if I move one of my rooks off the back rank. Here the position kind of got into like a stalemate-ish kind of thing, so I decided to move my queen back so it can have more attacking power over like the c-pawn, and just like it doesn't need to be so close and intimidating to the king anymore, because we all know it doesn't actually do anything. So I just moved it back to attack both the e-pawn and also attack the c-pawn, just to see what he would respond with. Because I'm like up a few pawns and like material, my goal is kind of to trade down. So my plan was I was thinking of some way I could attack all the black's loose pieces. So I went queen there. So one, I attacked the bishop on the corner, and two, I also kind of threatened to check him and trade the rooks. He moves his bishop, but that means that now I could move my rook in and trade it. And now, because we both kind of only have 1 minute and I get really panicky in time scrambles, so I kind of just try to trade the queens with him because I did have more material and I was more confident that I could probably win the endgame if we trade queens. So that's what I like tried to do the whole time. I was like swindling just to get a trade in to simplify, and he walks into the trade. So now I just start attacking with my rook. So in the second game, I play as black, and usually when white plays e4, I tend to stick with the Sicilian defense as something I respond to e4. And because the format of the tournament is you each play as white and then you play as black, and you have to win at least 2 out of your 3 games in order to advance. So if I win this round, I'll definitely advance, but if I lose, we'll move on to a tiebreaker. Oftentimes when the bishop is on g5, I often like to ask my opponent the question of like what they want to do, because it's like really uncomfortable if it just like keeps pinning your pieces there. So we made a trade, traded the knight for the bishop. That pawn push was actually a blunder there, because it blunders his knight away, and I get to even take it with tempo on the rook. So I'm up a full knight right now. So here I get way too ahead of myself and ignore my opponent's threat, and now I kind of trap my bishop in a way where yes, my bishop can move back, but if it moves back that means I lose my d-pawn, which would be pretty sad. I think I started like panicking a little here, which like honestly whenever I make a mistake in like these super fast-paced blitz games, I just like suddenly start panicking and I can't think straight. uh So it was pretty lucky, like after the whole fiasco, I was still up like 2 pawns. So I kind of wanted to trade queens. I feel like I tend to do slightly better in endgames just because there's less pieces to focus on. So whenever I need like to bail out, I try to just trade and get to an endgame. So it's easier to like bail out, especially when I'm up material. In this phase of the game, my goal was pretty much to stabilize my position and also launch an attack with my 2 rooks and like the 2 pawns there. Because I had like, my bishop is in such a good spot, like I could just keep it there and nothing can really bother it. Because it's like, the rook wouldn't want to trade the rook for the bishop. So it's basically like there for life. So meanwhile I can just like stabilize these pawns. Like I closed my opponent's pawns down so like they can't harass me. So then I can just like focus on my 2 pawns. I think here Mouse Boss must have thought like my bishop was super annoying, so he just wanted to get rid of it with the rook. So I'm actually glad to have made that trade because it's always good to have your bishop exchange for a rook, just because the rook is way more powerful. And now I had 2 rooks against 1 and an extra pawn, so this is just like consolidation. Yay! So that means that I advanced. I had so much fun playing round 1 with Mass Boss. It was a really great 2 games. And next up, I'll show you guys a bracket list I play against Ascending Light. As I am voiceovering it, I already know what happened, but I'm not going to spoil anything because I may make a video on it. It takes some time to edit this out, so it may take a little bit of time, but don't spoil the results. And also on that note, if there's anyone who watches my video who likes playing chess also, like feel free to join the server because there's such a great chess community or like people who like playing chess also. So I think you'll make great friends and it's always nice to meet people who watch my videos and like talk to them too. So thank you guys so much for watching and goodbye!